Hello and welcome to our tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be looking at how to model a flower-like curvilinear building using Revit architecture. And in this tutorial the building of reference is what is shown on the screen, and we'll be looking at how to model this. If you look at this particular building, you will see different elements representing the petals of the flower, or which look like petals of a flower, and we'll be modeling them from scratch to the finish, and you'll be seeing how we'll be doing that in this tutorial. If you check the perspective, this is the perspective view of the shaded perspective view of the building, and if you check the area view, you can see how the building is laid out, and we'll be trying to model this in the course of this tutorial. So if you follow this tutorial from start to finish, you'll be able to find out how this building was modeled using Revit. So this is the southern elevation of the building where the main entrance is, and you can see how the general form of the building look like. So basically we'll be modeling this building from start to the finish, just like I said earlier. And this tutorial is segmented into 3 parts. So if you want to see the other videos, you will have to subscribe to this channel to get notification, or you can always search for the videos later on. But this is the first of the series, and yeah, I think we can begin to model. So open a fresh Revit page and let us begin. So what we'll be trying to do, go to level 1. What we're trying to do here is to create some guidelines using annotative line, that is detail line DL. So you pick your line DL and draw a horizontal line as seen on the screen. Don't worry about the dimension, just ensure it's long enough, and then draw a vertical line perpendicular to the horizontal line, and then mirror it. Try to mirror that line down here, and create another line at angle 45 degrees at the upper right quadrant, and try to produce that line on the other 3 remaining quadrants here. So mirror it around, so mirror sideways and mirror down, and then to the remaining quadrant. Yes. So these lines will serve as a guide for me when I start modeling. So I will try to also add another line, but this time I'll be modifying or setting that horizontal line upward, let's say by up by distance of 4,300, and then offset it upward. So I'll be drawing another detail line, but this time a circle, and pick a circle and use this point, this intersection point, as your center, and draw a circle of 5,000 millimeters. I'm using meters I'm using millimeters as my unit, so 5,000 millimeters will be 5 meters. So yeah, that circle represents one of the components I'll be creating, so I'll mirror it around. I'll be creating 4 components here, as seen in that model I showed you at the beginning of this tutorial. So yeah, this will represent those components. Yeah, I think we have a guide, so we'll try to create the profile for one of these components using modeling lines, LI. So modeling line, pick a modeling line and try to draw an arc along half of that circle we created earlier. Ensure you pick the start, end and radius arc. You can see, yeah, that's my radius, which is 5 meters. So if you go to the 3D view, you will see what we just created. The reason why I'm using the modeling line is because it is visible in all the views, the elevation and everywhere. So now if you've not already created an elevation, do that. Level 1 is 0, ground floor level at 600, first floor just like that. So try to do that. I will be creating a reference plane. We'll create a reference plane in between the first floor and the ground floor level. Reference plane RP. Yeah, it will be at the middle, so the distance between first floor and the ground floor level is 3750, so halfway should be 1875 here. 1875, and I will label that reference plane as midway between first floor, so MW. You can label it anything you want, so long as you always remember what you labeled it. So I will be placing another modeling line at that reference plane, but I do not want to create an additional level, so that's why. So I'll go to that ground floor level at 600 and then create another modeling line. This time I'm creating a modeling line with an arc, a modeling line arc of a radius of 4,800, slightly smaller than the one we drew on the lowest level, which is level 1 at 0. So we'll try to offset it by yeah, since we are going to be having a radius of 4.8, we'll offset it by I think 200. Yeah, if we offset from 200 from 5,000, it should give us 4.8, so 200. Ensure you draw from your right to your left, because we are going to be offsetting inward, not out, not at the outer end. So you can look at it. Yeah, I picked a detailed line, so ensure you pick a modeling line, LI, enter, and you draw. I picked a straight line, so ensure you picked the arc, modeling line arc, LI, then pick start, end and radius arc. Draw from your left. Ensure you impute the offset of 200. Remember, we are using an offset of 200. I try to draw an arc of 4,800 in radius. So yeah, enter the 200 and then draw. Yeah, then offset inward. Yes, so done that. Now the next modeling line will be drawing to create this profile will be done on midway, that reference plane we created earlier. So this is how it looks like, what we've done so far. So yeah, we'll be trying to create this modeling line on that reference plane. So always remember what you labeled it. So we'll go, since it's a reference plane, it's not a level, we'll go to any of the levels to create the modeling line that we'll place on that. I'll be drawing an arc here of 3600 in radius, so we'll offset 1002 from our inner line. Yeah, 1002 here. Ensure it's an arc 1002. Yeah, and then we'll place it in. Automatically that arc will be 36. You can always, verify. Yeah, so you select it and move it to the reference plane. Mine is MW middle. So okay, you see it has disappeared because midway is slightly higher than ground floor level where we created the line. So this is what we have at the moment. This is what we have at the moment. So I think it looks good thus far. So but we'll be modeling it a little, modifying it a little, sorry, to give it an identical profile as seen in that 3D I showed to you. So you offset it, that detail line just created to connect them. You offset it by 2 meters. Yeah, 2 meters, and then the inner arc you extend it at the edge to meet it. You see why you see why we are doing this. It will give the profile we are going to create a very interesting shape. Yeah, so you can see the inner arc is almost closing. Then go to that first floor level and then draw. Okay, we will not be drawing that to meet that line, but we'll be offsetting by 600. Let's offset 600 and attach the second arc. Yeah, that the edge you extend it a little. This is just to give my profile a kind of an interesting shape along the edge. Yeah, so once you've done that, I think it's good. It's good once you've done that. Now the next profile we'll be creating will be a slanted on a slanted plane. It will be on a slanted plane, so we'll go to the elevation, the south elevation, and okay, the profile we'll be creating, we'll try to use the side, not the south. The south is directly facing our modeling line. We are trying to create this profile using the side, yeah, either the west or the east. Yeah, west or the east. So we'll use the west here. We use the west, so you go to the elevation. You see what I'm trying to do. But first, ensure you identify the modeling lines you've created. Ensure you identify them. You can see that is where mine is. So identify your own and ensure you draw your reference plane close to it. So we'll draw a reference plane. RP, enter. Yeah, somewhere around there. Ensure your reference plane does not intersect with the profile lines you've created, and ensure it's at an angle of 35. Yeah, you may tweak your dimension, but if you want to get the exact thing we are having in this tutorial, you may have to use what I'm doing. So we'll label it TP, top profile, the top profile of the object you're trying to create. So we'll go to the first floor level where we can see all the lines, all the modeling lines we did, and then we'll create an arc along that is as large as the outer arc we created on the level 1. So but before you do that, ensure you select the reference plane, the top profile reference plane, because it's at a slanted plane, and if you don't do that, you may have issues. So you go to that point, pick it, and here and then take it to where the edge of that arc is. Do not be too worried about the dimension for now, or the accuracy. We'll change it later on. So you go to the 3D. See, this is the profile we just created. Now you can see we'll be changing it to the radius to 5,800. Yeah, 5,800. These dimensions are predefined, so if you want to get exactly what we are having, use the same dimension as I'm using, but it's not mandatory. If you want to use other dimension, is allowed. So 5.8 millimeters. So it's slightly larger than the arc on the lowest level, that's level 1, which is at 0 above the ground. So I see, look at it. Yeah, so I think the profile is okay. So we'll be creating the component now using massing. So you go to place mass and select it. Okay, mass 1. Okay, you can identify it as anything you like. And yeah, since we've already created the profile line, we'll be using the pick line tools, so we'll not need to draw any lines again. So at level 1, that is the arc at level 1. So you select it, then you select the other level, ground floor level, is 600. That is the line on that. Select it, then you go to midway, that is at midway. Then you go to top profile, select it. So once you've done that, you escape, and then you select all the profile lines. Then yeah, create a solid form. Okay, this is what you're having. It seems that there's a little issue. The curve is having 2 different curves. We don't want that. We want a single curve that is just curving now from the bottom to the top. A single curve. So we'll edit the profile. Click on edit profile, and we'll edit that line, that arc on ground floor level. Click on it, select it, and then reduce the radius to 4,200 instead of 4,800. So you can see, okay, you can see the shape is better now. It's not having double shape, it's having a single rising shape shaping out at the top. So this is what we want. It is very okay now. It's very okay. But we'll tweak the center line, the center arc, to give it a more interesting shape. We'll bring the line a little closer to each other. Yeah, then okay. You can see it's almost closing at that middle point. Yeah, so that's why we created that inner line like that. So it's almost closing, so the shape comes together at that point. You can always edit it to give it an interesting form based on your own taste. You can also tweak the ground, the arc at the lowest level, or we just okay. I think for now it's okay. You can always edit, it's no problem. Select it and always edit. We'll shade it to give it a much more defined listing. So go to your lowest level and click on it. That is what you just created, the mass. Try to mirror it around. Yeah, using, you see why we created those lines, they are going to be very handy. So hold down your control and select the 2 and then mirror it to the other end. So you can see it's complete now. The components are intersecting each other, they overlap. So, and this is what I want, so they overlap each other. So you can look at it, you can see overlap each other, they intersect at the edges. Yeah, so you should have something like this. If you've done your work right, you should have something like this on your screen. and that you want to be modeling it alongside as I am doing it. So shaded, shade it. This is how the shading will look like. We will not apply material, so it will automatically take the default view, the default display for a mass. So now we'll be creating the upper part of this building. So yeah, but before that we'll create a reference plane, a certain level, but the upper part will start from the first floor level. So we'll try to create a reference plane that will place a profile line on later on in this tutorial. The reference level should be a little close to the upper level in my project, so I'll create it here. You can always set the dimension to whatever you like, but I'm creating it at where the point where the two components intersect. I just create it there and label it. You can label it anything you want, but I'll be labeling mine arrow, let's say arrow 1, reference 1. Reference 1. You can always confirm that it's labeled, because if it's not labeled, you may have issues. You will not be able to identify it if you want to place anything there. So go to first floor level, go to floor plan. This is what we will be seeing, and we are trying to create a profile here to represent another component on top of those 4 elements we just created. And we'll be using arc. I'll be picking some reference points at where this component, those 4 components intersect. So go to architecture and pick modeling line, and I'll be using some definite reference area here. Make sure you place your work plane on first floor. Okay, where would be the best part for this what I'm trying to create? I think here should be this intersection point, should be the perfect point. Yeah, I'll pick it and draw and pick the other side. Oh sorry, I've used the linear line. Yeah, it should be the arc, the start, end, and radius arc. So, and I will use that same point that I used earlier, start, end, and then the radius will be the similar point on this side here. Don't worry about the dimension for now. We'll set it to okay, we'll set it to 650. Remember I said we'll be using predefined dimensions, so 650. You can see it has adjusted. And we'll extend it a little. So we'll extend the lines a little bit. You can draw a guideline to ensure it's at the same point on either side, and yeah, so just do similar thing as to what I did on the screen, and then yeah. So once you've done that, I think that is okay. And then we'll be trying to create another arc, modeling line arc at yeah, modeling line arc here. here, and we'll place it inward. I think we're having an issue here. I think the reason we've not used the same reference point as the first arc we drew, so it's not really coming out similar to the first one. So we'll remove it and use the same reference point we did for the first even though we set it now, you can see it's not concentric, it's not similar to the outer one. So we'll remove it, delete it. I'm going to delete it and try to pick the first reference point that we used earlier on for the outer arc. So that point, so pick your modeling line, Li, enter. So this point, that's what we'll be using, so that we can have a similar arc to the first one we did. Yeah, so and still pick the similar point here and drop it. So we can now set the radius to 4800. So 4800, you can see it's slightly smaller, but we extended that line. I mainly forgive this plane, this shape, an interesting, so you can just offset from that guideline you drew before, 1 2, and place the line there. Yeah, so then move it to R1. Remember, we created that plane slightly higher than first floor level, so you can see this is what we just created. Look at the arc on the first floor and the other arc on R1 in our reference plane 1. So you can see it. Look at it. This is how it looks like. It's nice. So I think we can create the other profile now, the other profile line. If we go to this side, we can see all the lines, and here this is the side of the object, so we'll create a view there so that we can better see the side of what we just created. So you create an elevation at that point. The reason why we are doing this is to work on a direct perpendicular plane to this the side of this object we are trying to create, because the profile we are going to be creating next will be on a slanted plane. I want to be working perpendicular to the side of this object, so that's why we are creating this elevation. Ensure you extend the view so that you can see the building. Yeah, so go to the elevation. So this is it. This is the perpendicular view to the side of those lines, those detailed lines we created that we're going to use to model the object we're trying to create. Yeah. So if you are here, we will now create a reference plane on this side so that we can place a profile there. So yeah, we'll be creating the reference plane on this side. Before we do that, we'll try to create some guide. We'll draw a detailed line on this point as seen on the screen, and then we'll offset it by 400. Yeah, if we get to that point. Yeah, and now the reference plane we'll be drawing, the slanted reference plane, should intersect. So the reference plane, we'll start it from where the line intersected our model object, that point. So you draw and ensure it's at an angle of it's at an angle. Then you can always set it at 145. Yeah, you can, then after that you move it to that intersection point. Move it to that intersection point, or it should be at least close by. Remember, we are working with a predefined model here, so we are trying to make sure what we are going to be doing looks like what I showed you earlier on in the tutorial. So yeah, you place it there. You extend this so that you can have a better view of it. So once you've done that, you can now ensure you label it here, so that you can always select it, label it. You can label it anything you like, but ensure you remember what it is. So we'll be labeling it. It's also a top profile, but we'll just modify it a little. BTP. I think you can label it anything you want. So we'll also create another guideline. Another guideline here. This one is just to guide our model later on. I will not want my model to extend too much beyond this line. So at the end of the day, if it extends too much or it's not getting to that point, I'll have to edit it. I want it to get there. So I'll go to any of the level and then try to create that profile along that slanted plane. Okay, so I'll be using that same reference point and then setting the radius afterwards. So I'll draw using arc, remember. Then before you draw, ensure you select the plane, because if you don't, you will not be able to move it there, because it's a very dissimilar plane compared to the levels. The level is at it's just horizontal, while this is at an angle. So you draw here at this point. Yeah, just pick it. You may not be able to see it since you are working on a lower level than here, but do not worry, just be picking the point and you create the arc. So if you go to the 3D, you see it, this is it, and we'll set the radius now. Select it, set it to 9600, 9006. Yeah, that is how it should look like. Or you can make it bigger. Well, if you make it bigger, it means this model will be so big at the top, but with the dimension I'm using, this should be okay for me. Yeah, this should be okay. It should be okay. You can tweak this arc, increase the angle to like 300. If you increase the angle, the arc will almost be closing. But if you decrease it, it will, pull out. So 300 is close to 360, which is a circle. So we'll increase this one to 300 again. You can see it. So it's almost closing at the middle and it's almost closing at the top. It will give it an interesting form you see afterward. So those are the 3 lines, and I think basically we created a profile for the top object in this model. So we'll go to massing, to create the component. In place mass, then okay, and then pick lines. Remember, we've already created the shape, so we don't need to draw any longer. So you just pick the line by identifying the plane they are. Go to first floor. The first one we did was in first floor level, so we select it. Yeah. The next one was at reference plane 1, R1. Select it, and yeah, select it. And then the next one is at BTP, which is the upper profile, slanted one. Once you are done, you escape. And make sure you are not in the drawing mode any longer. Yeah, escape the drawing mode, and then select all the profiles we've created, 3 lines, and then create a form, solid form. This is what we created. Look at it, look at it, look at it. This is what we just created. Yeah, so you can always edit later on, but for now I'll finish it and continue. Now the other form I'll be creating is similar to this, so I will be mirroring it. I will not be creating from the scratch, I will just be mirroring it. I've selected it, so I will mirror it to the other side. Remember, this line is the middle, so I'll just mirror it using that line. It's not visible here because this level is very low, so you can see this is what we just did. What we need to do on this object, we just mirror, we'll edit it, basically reducing the radius of the arc, because we want this element to be slightly smaller than the other one. So we'll reduce this one to 8400 at the top profile, and then we'll reduce the bottom to 5 meters, 5000. Okay, and then yeah, you finish it, and then we'll reduce the middle profile, that one. We'll reduce it to, that amount, and then we okay. Yeah, it's 4. So yeah, so this is what you'll be seeing. Now the outer profile is almost like it's hugging the inner one. That is those two we just created on top. You can see the one on the right is slightly bigger, so it's like hugging the next one, wrapping itself around the other one. That's why we reduce it a little bit. So if you go to the elevation, that's elevation, perpendicular elevation to this side, you see how the objects are. You can see that line, so this object is touching the line and even passing it just a little bit, so I think it's okay. Now this is the front elevation view. You can see how the objects look like. It's like a flower to an extent. Yeah, so, and I think it looks good. It looks good. So if you are indeed following this tutorial, working with it, you should have this particular shape on your screen, a particular form on your screen. You've done the necessary thing. Yeah, so I think it looks good. And yeah, before component and component. So to a 3D view, you will see like next thing we'll be trying to do here is to create some covering, especially on the side. Trying to create some okay, let's just create a perspective view, one with a vanishing point. Let's see how this building looks like. See, it looks very interesting to an extent. So I want to view from the top. So basically what is remaining here now is the roof. The roof covering for those parts that are not covered, and we'll create that shortly. But you can see how it looks like. The elements are transparent because they do not apply material and they are mass. Revit treats mass, any mass create a default mask like that until you apply your materials. So I think it's okay. It's okay. So like I said, we'll be creating roof at the center and on the edges of those two bigger elements. You can always tweak your perspective view to give it more tone. Set it to gradient and apply. So although we've not created any site for this building, but this helps us to create to make it more okay. So this is it, viewed from the front, from the south side, south and west. So this is what we'll be having. So we'll be creating the roof shortly. And so this is where we'll be ending this first tutorial video on this particular model. In the next video, we'll be looking at how to create the roof and some other elements in this building. Remember, like I said at the beginning of this tutorial, if you want to see the other video, subscribe to this channel, and of course you can always like and share this video. Remember to also make a comment regarding this tutorial, suggestion, and any other observation in this tutorial is welcome. So head to the comment section and let us know what you think about this tutorial, if it has been helpful, and that will help us in creating subsequent videos. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.